River Raid for the Atari video computer system, designed by Carol Shaw for Activision.
Can you think of any other time where the developer of a game was actually credited in the advert? That's pretty good for old Activision. Hello and welcome to another episode of GameHammer. Today we're taking a look at one of the greatest vertically scrolling shooters from the early 80s. It is of course River Raid on the Atari 2600 and some others. We're going to first have a look at the 2600 version, which is being played, as you can see here, via Activision Anthology on the PlayStation 2. So it's kind of a twofer. So let's have a look at a brilliant shooter. So we've got the classic River Raid, and it's got no soundtrack, but the sounds that you do get, the shooting, the blur of the jet going past, it's not bad. It's reasonable for an old Atari game, and graphically this is pretty competent. Everything's clear, everything's colourful, I really like it. You can tell exactly what everything is, and that's what you want from these old Atari games. It's difficult at times, as you see. I've just accidentally died there, and it's not too difficult, that's the thing. When I died there, I knew exactly why I died. I knew it was my fault, and that I could do better. So that's what you want. Everything's clear, everything is in the right place. It's not too crowded, it's not too empty. But, well, aside from that fuel tank there, no one's going to go for that. It's not going to work, is it? But also, the other thing that you have to remember with this game is the control system is really, really good. And it's just intuitive. You push forward to speed up, you pull back to slow down, which means you have a lot of control over where you are on the screen and how fast the game progresses. The only thing that I think is missing from this version that's in a lot of the other versions is the tank on the bridge. It's in the 5200 version, but it's not here in the 2600 version, and that's really the only thing that's missing. I would have liked that in here, but I can understand that it may be something that turned up later when they did some revisions to the game. So we'll let that slide. But aside from that, what's there to not like? This is good, really fun gameplay, and that's what you want from a game. I don't spend a huge amount of time playing old Atari games because a lot of them you put in, you play 5-10 minutes and you switch them out for something else. For River Raid, I could play it for hours, literally hours, and I would not be unhappy with doing that because there's a lot here that makes it an awful lot of good, honest, clean fun. And that's what you want from these games. It's arcade style, arcade quality, good fun. And I really like it. So what's the actual game about? Well, you're the aircraft that roams across the river. You can't go into the land, you'll crash. So you must be going down some kind of canyon, really, because the sides must be higher than they seem. And you're trying to destroy the enemy. It's enemy forces, I don't know. You may be invading, you may be defending, I don't know. But all I can tell you is, you have to go down here and destroy as many as you can. So shoot the ships, shoot the aircraft, shoot the fuel if you want extra points, or if you're low on fuel, actually go over it and then you'll refuel yourself. I don't know how that works. We're not going to get into logistics of mid-air refueling here. This is an Atari game after all, so we'll leave that be. And then you shoot the bridges to go on to the next level. The bridge, I think, just represents a barrier, but in terms of what's going on in the game, I don't know whether you're stopping enemy forces getting in or disrupting their resupply lines or whatever, but either way, shoot the bridges, get everything out the way, and keep going. I assume there's an end in sight, but I've never reached it because I'm not that good at the game, even though I do love it and play it a lot. But it's just one of those things. Okay, as you can see, this is one of those games that when you play it, you lose track of time because it gets you straight into it. It's very responsive, it's very simple to pick up, but very hard to master, which is of course what you want from an arcade-style game, which this definitely is. I love it to bits. It's one of those games that I never played as a kid because it wasn't one of the games that my friend who had an Atari 2600 had, so we never played it, but I'm very, very glad I've got it on the Atari Anthology because I adore it and play it as often as I can, really, because it is one of those you can just pick up, play for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe a couple of hours, it depends how much you get into it, and then put it down and go and do something else. No harm, no foul on that. You don't have to try and get back into the story or anything like that. It is a lot of good fun. However, I don't think it is the best version. Funnily enough, it is the original, it is the classic as everyone knows, but it's not the only one and it's not the best. So let's have a look at some of the others. Let's start with the ZX Spectrum. Okay, here we are on the ZX Spectrum, and what can I say? It's not good. I really do think this is programmed in BASIC. I mean, look at how it's juddering. The Spectrum is better than this. We've had lots of good shooters on the Spectrum, had lots of very good scrolling games on the Spectrum, and this is not one of them. The aircraft that you're playing as is tiny, unnecessarily tiny, as if it's a character instead of a sprite. So someone's just redefined a character from the Spectrum's symbol list. And I think the same has happened with the helicopters, although I think they've done 2 different characters on that one because it is rotating its blades a little bit. The rest of it, what can I say? The ships, yeah, they look like ships. The planes look like planes. The helicopters look like helicopters. That's as good as you get. It does have the tanks on the bridge, though. That's pretty good. But it doesn't feel like River Raid. It's not fast enough. It doesn't feel like you're really playing River Raid. It feels like a very cheap port. But this cost £8 when it first came out. I mean, sure, for a $1.99 budget game when it was re-released, yeah, I'd have gone with it and thought, yeah, it's alright. I mean, we've played worse. And we certainly have played worse, but for £8 it's not worth it. It really isn't. So, yeah, you can play it, and it's kind of River Raid, but I don't really rate it as a game. There are much better shooters on the Spectrum, so I'd recommend you go and play them instead. And if you want proper River Raid, well, we've already seen a very good version, and we'll see some more. Yeah, okay, as you can see from that, the ZX Spectrum version is, well, it's not great, is it? It's very slow. I would be very surprised if this wasn't coded in BASIC. I mean, sure, it may have been recompiled so that it doesn't look like it's in BASIC, but I'm pretty sure it is BASIC. It's slow, it's responsive, I'll give it that. It seems to be feature complete, but it's not a patch on the original. So, if that's what the Spectrum has to offer, and I really wish it was better because the Spectrum can do better. I mean, look at Arte. The Spectrum can definitely do shooters much better than this. So, if that's what the Spectrum can do, what are the other home computer versions like? Let's take a look at the Commodore 64. Oh my goodness, look at that. What can I say? The first thing I've got to say, of course, that there is sound on the Commodore 64 version, and it sounds pretty damn good. I don't have any sound on the Commodore 64 version. For some reason, I haven't been able to record that. I don't know what's wrong with my Commodore. This is the second time that's happened. When we played Shockwave Rider, I had to pull in the sound from a separate recording just to get it. I don't know why I can't get both the sound and the video at the same time, but that's just how it is at the moment. But look at this. It is smooth. It is responsive. It looks fantastic. This is basically an enhanced version of the Atari 5200 version of River Raid, which is why you've now got the interestingly different coloured edges to the sides on the canyon. You've got multicoloured enemies. It just looks great, and we'll eventually see the tanks on the bridges, which means you can get extra points. If you wait until the tank is on the bridge and then shoot the bridge out, you get extra points for killing the tank as well. So it's always worth doing that. But I love this. This looks fantastic. It's probably one of the better ports that I've seen on the Commodore 64 for a while now. I mean, the last time we looked at a port, it was Dizzy, and it wasn't great, but this is just perfect. I mean, how can you fault it? It's great. I loved playing this one. One of my favourite games on the C64 at the moment. The controls are pretty standard. Left, right, moves left and right. Forward increases speed, back decreases speed. Exactly like on the Atari, then you press fire to shoot. It's exactly as the Atari one was, and it's very good because of it. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. That is a brilliant version of the game. I love this. It's fast. It's brilliant. It has the addition of being able to shoot tanks on the bridges as you go through, which I kind of like. It's much better than the Spectrum version, and I really love it. I thought for a long time when I was playing this that this was probably the pinnacle of River Raid, that it was the best version you could get, and nothing could top it. And then I found the MSX version, so let's have a look at that one. The MSX is one of those computers that, when I played on my friends as a kid, it always felt not quite right. Because we played an awful lot of games on tape, which really felt like they were just cut down Spectrum versions. But the MSX version of River Raid is on cartridge. That's what we're playing from here, the ROM file of the cartridge. And you can tell they have gone all out to make sure this is right. I love it. Everything looks like a refinement of the original version of the game. Although I think it's actually a refinement of the 5200 version, because there's a tank on the bridge, and the tanks are noticeably tanks, and the bridges even have numbers for the levels on them now, which is great. What can I say about this that we haven't already said? Well, not a lot, because there's not a lot else to say about River Raid. It's a very simple game when you get down to it, but it is so good that you really do want to keep going and playing and playing and playing until your fingers bleed. I may be going a bit overboard there, but it is one of those games that you can pick up and play regardless of which system it is. And the MSX is probably the best version that I've seen, so I highly recommend it. Okay, there. That, I think you'll agree, that is the pinnacle of River Raid. The MSX version is fantastic. It's on cartridge, so you'll be able to download a ROM if you want to give it a try, or hunt it down. Hunt down a copy and plug it into your MSX. It is brilliant. I love it. This is the version that I think really refined the idea. It's got everything here. It's feature complete. It's got the tanks on the bridges. It's got the balloons. It's got the helicopters. It's got the boats and everything like that. But it's really crisp. It looks great. It's very, very functional. And I just love it. It's fantastic. So, yeah, I think out of all of them, yeah, the Atari 2600 version is a classic. And I do adore it. The Spectrum version, I'll put that aside. Sorry, guys. The Spectrum was let down very, very seriously here. And if you've ever played the Spectrum version, you know how Amstrad CPC fans feel when you've played the Spectrum version after seeing the Atari version, or the Commodore version, or the MSX version. Because that's how we felt when we all got Spectrum ports that weren't refined and didn't take advantage of the CPC's hardware. So now you know how an Amstrad fan feels in general, just by having a look and playing the ZX Spectrum version of River Raid. I may be going a bit off topic here. Now, yeah, the Atari 2600 version is classic. We'll leave the Spectrum version aside. The Commodore 64 version, oh my goodness, I love it. But the crown prince of River Raid is definitely the MSX version. Okay, anyway, that's really all we've got time for this week, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you did like this, and if you did, remember to click that like button, share it with your friends, so that they'll know a good game when they see it, and do subscribe for future videos, because there will be more in the future. But until next time, I've been Zoe Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching GameHammer on the Knob Mouse channel, and I'll see you later. Today's video is brought to you by my graphic novels, The Collected Life of Knobty Mouse, Volume 1, All Over the House, Volume 1, and All Over the House, Volume 2. Thank you.